now that I can't hear. Okay, you can't just bury an oil drum. Okay, the difference is his development. He said it's commercial. When you redevelop something and make it residential, you have to do a soil sample. When you do a soil sample, they'll see the contaminants.
Because his was commercial.
Yeah,
are we on?
And contaminants were on. So they're talking about this property we looked at that has an oil dump. So they had just basically a hole in the ground with a lid on it, and that's where they dumped used motor oil back in the 1950s. Thank you.
That sounds good to me.
Thank you. So
you're saying now that...
Excuse me, is this glass dirty?
Just drink it, okay? The alcohol sanitizes everything.
Oh, goodness sakes. Okay, so we are. What's going on?
What episode
I don't give a shit. It's episode. I said one bad word. I said ass last time, and Apple podcast. It said it could not download my podcast due to vulgarity, and I had to turn that off.
How is that possible? You're not allowed to curse in a podcast?
You can, but apparently
Rogan do it.
Apparently, my settings were not to allow vulgarity.
Oh,
I don't know why, so I had to turn that off.
You're so vulgar.
So I know.
Okay, so
what
is happening?
Well, it's let's just, since we don't care what episode. I mean, we're at the end of October.
We're at the end of October, 2023.
History books, people.
So the market is still crappy. There is very little inventory. The interest rates are high. They're in the 8s. Which is crazy. Yeah, and there's no sign of them getting any lower. In fact, chances are they're going to get higher.
Yeah, well, we were looking, so the 10-year went over 5, and it brought the interest rates over 8%. Last week when I looked it up, Google said 8.375, and let's see what it says right now. Google's always much higher. Google's always higher than what the rate is, but still, though, just to see those numbers.
You still hear people talking about when rates go lower, but I honestly don't think that there's any reason for them to go lower.
Today it says Google says average rate 8.539 on a 30-year fix with 20% down with a 700 to 719 credit score.
So that's where we're at. But I mean, don't you think that agents are kind of delusional still? They hasn't sunk in. And there are so many people on Instagram or whatever that are still like, oh, and when interest rates get lower. So I feel like they're feeding into that denial.
Well, I think, a lot of it is the propaganda in the media. And so we keep hearing, if you're listening to any business news, soft landing, the economy's going to have a soft landing. And it was...
Well, they don't want to freak people out.
Well, it kind of pissed me off because they were on the news the other day and they were literally laughing. And they asked the one economist or whoever they were talking to, was a CEO of some big major company, and he was older, and he'd been around through several markets. And he said, have you ever seen a soft landing? And they were both start to laugh, him and the interviewer, and they're like, we don't even know what that means. Like they're basically
if
like
it's telling... If it's a soft landing, then nothing really happened.
They're basically telling you it's a joke. Like that statement is a joke. And I've been noticing,
so you won't freak out.
Yeah, I've been noticing more and more, even like Jamie Dimon, who's CEO of Chase, all of a sudden he's like, hey, things are going to get really worse off. We're headed into a bad market. Like people are starting to acknowledge we're headed into a bad market.
And do not listen to NAR or CAR.
No, don't listen to them.
Because they lie.
I know. I don't trust anyone. I really don't, because I feel like everyone that's giving you some set of news has an agenda. Yeah, and when it comes to the media, there's a political agenda there. And so we're basically being fed what they want us to hear. But in reality, the economy is not doing well. So we talked to Larry. I think he listens to our podcast. He does tattoos.
Oh, okay.
And
Larry Angel.
Yeah, and he was saying, hey, listen, if people aren't getting tattoos, they're like slowing down because it's a luxury. It's a luxury, right? And so what do? The first thing you're going to start dropping is obviously tattoos, luxury items. If you're going to CrossFit workouts, maybe the gym that if you have a $10 membership you'll keep, right? But these CrossFit places where the people next door to us who have
it's like $200 a month.
Yeah, $250 a month
to flip some tires in a parking lot where you can do that for free.
Yeah. And I think those are luxuries. And so, if you're having to cut back, that's one thing. And gas prices have not necessarily, they went up, then they came down a little bit, but it was like
they're still in the 5s.
No, they're still in the 5s,
which is high. It should be in the 3s.
Yeah, they're in the high 5s. They're almost 6. They're like almost 6. So yeah, so I mean, That takes
food.
a huge. That takes a huge.
I was kind of sticker shocked when we were grocery shopping and coffee, just a bag of coffee is $20.
Yeah, that was. Well, we spent. Okay, so
it used to be like $8.
So we went to the grocery store. So we went to the grocery store. We bought. Let's knock that over. We bought coffee. We bought creamers. We bought 2 bottles of wine. And this is like screw off cap, New Zealand, cupcake wine, right? And we bought some milk and a box of cereal, and it was $101. And I bought like a couple apples and some oranges. Like literally, that was it. Like literally, I just bought drinks with the exception of the cereals and your Pop-Tart. Okay, but it was $101. Like that's a lot of money. Can you imagine? Like,
I know.
If you have a family,
$100 doesn't go very far.
No, it doesn't. And so,
every time we go to eat, just 2 people, you're dropping $100, pretty much 80, 100.
Yeah, seriously. So yeah, I mean things are expensive, and so that is an issue as things continue to elevate in price. It's tough, and so yeah, you're right. I still hear it, not as much, but I'm hearing agents still say when the rates come down. I follow, and I won't say his name, but I listen to somebody who is pretty big in our area, and he literally used the words, when the rates snap back in 2 years, you're going to have... In 2 years? You're going to like in 2 years, you could have this flood of business or whatever the case is. He made some kind of like rush.
What are supposed people do for 2 years?
Well, but what I don't understand is, where are we getting this idea that the rates are going to snap back in 2 years?
It's just wishful thinking.
But I mean, it's stupid. It's stupid that you're thinking that way. Okay, if rates come down in 2 years, that's great. If somehow by some miracle rates come down in 2 years, that's great. But to sit around thinking that's going to happen and to build your game plan on wishful thinking, everyone knows the most risk in real estate is speculation. To speculate what's going to happen in the economy. And especially when you turn on the news, you're going to hear.
Was he saying get an adjustable rate mortgage?
No, he was talking about flips and homes that you're buying and things like that. And, you can get stuck with a flip, right? Like a lot of these okay, so here's the thing.
You can get stuck with a flip.
We've gotten stuck with a flip. We got stuck with a few flips, right? So 2008, we got stuck with a few flips. It happens. It's what happens in business, right? Like business is not always rosy. You can get stuck with a flip. No buyer, and especially if you're doing it on one of these, short-term loans, hard money loans, things like that with an investor, they get really anxious. You have to give your money back, or you're going to lose it. A lot of points involved and things like that. So it's tight. But what I'm saying is, I'm noticing these guys. Okay, they're showing you online. They're doing flips. This is the same guy, right? He's showing us online. We have this gnat flying around. Same gnat from last time. They show you, I bought this house in this city for $600,000, and I put $150,000 into it, and I'm selling it for $1 million. Okay, so I look at what they're putting for $150,000. They're like redoing the whole house, repainting the whole house, new kitchens, new cabinets, redoing the inside, redoing the outside. I'm like, okay, that's not $150,000. Someone is grossly lying, or the work you're doing is really, 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 really shitty, because we're in construction, and I'm having this conversation with our painting crew and our lead estimator, and they're saying, where's this dude getting this at? Where are they getting these phenomenal numbers at? So I think to be very cautious, if you're following other people online and they're telling you, hey, we can do this, you can do these flips, or you can do this, or you should do that. Some may be true, some may be not, but I'm just saying, do your own homework.
Yeah.
Don't believe everything you see, right? I mean, we always make things look easy online, on TV.
Yeah, in your 10-second little reel.
Yeah, well, and even like some of those home improvement shows where they tell you how much money they spend, a lot of those shows are lying.
Oh, yeah.
They're not including labor, they're not including something in there, because...
They're not including a lot.
Yeah, they're like, we redid the whole fireplace, $4,000. I'm like, really? Where did you get that at? So I think people are still being a little bit unrealistic in some degree, and they have a false idea of where we think the market's going to go.
Yeah. So, I mean, we should always prepare for the worst, hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. So if you're in real estate and preparing for the worst means interest rates are going to go to 10%, 12%, 13% next year, and which means even less people. So everyone's down about 30-40% right now. If interest rates go to 10, north of 10, then people are going to be down a lot more than 30%, 50, 60% if they get anything at all.
Well,
so now you have to think about how are you going to pivot? What are you going to do? And really the key is diversification.
Yeah. Well, so if you follow Grant Cardone online, he's got millions of followers. He's the 10Xer. He said that he's telling everybody, like, get your financial affairs in order, that we're moving to what's considered a renter's nation, and he said he thinks the numbers are going to flip. So right now across the U.S., it's a 60% ownership, a 40% renter.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So now, and
in
some
California, I think it's higher for sure.
Higher ownership,
renter.
Yeah, and it goes by cities. Some cities have a phenomenally high ownership. So but when you're looking at a national average, so 60-40 is kind of where it's at. And again, every state will kind of go up and down, and every city and county and so forth have their own stats. I mean, I've seen some cities where ownership is like almost 90%. In some cities, and then the rest is rental and vice versa. So. But what he's saying is renter nation is coming, and what he's alluding to is interest rates are going to remain high. The idea of owning is going to be out of the reach for many, many people. When you compare that to the generational differences we have between, say, Gen Xers, baby boomers and Gen Xers, we want to buy. We bought. A lot of Gen Xers are locked in on these 30-year fixed rates because we saw what happened in 2008. But what we have is we have millennials who started their adulthood in, I don't want to own because I saw what happened to my parents.
And we actually, Gen Xers actually work jobs.
Yes, we work. We don't sit home. So yes. So the thing is so millennials started the generation. And if you're a millennial, you started off your adulthood, at least most of you, and there's obviously outliers in there, with we don't really want to own because we saw the devastation that happened to our parents. They lost their homes in 2008, 2009 due to foreclosure, right? So that memory, whether it be skewed by bad financial decisions, nonetheless was the memory that they had. So they started off not wanting to own. And then, as they progress, some of them wanted to own, but now it became unaffordable, right? And so they kind of got caught between a rock and a hard place. And then Gen Zs, as they become of age, it's going to be too expensive. And so, but what's happening is their generations are being geared towards renting, borrowing, sharing economy. Do any of these things sound like buzzwords to you, right? This is what's happening. Ask a baby boomer if they want to share part of their house, and they'll tell you get the hell out of there, right? Like, they're not going to share their house, right? Yeah. But a millennial, a Gen Z, this is normal things, right? And so sharing economy, we're moving towards this kumbaya socialistic view where we don't own anything, and really what we're saying is our money should be spent towards experience. That's the kind of, we're moving into a European market. This is what's already how Europeans live. If you go to France or Italy, you will note that most people do not own.
Yeah.
They spend their money.
Don't work very hard.
They spend their money on experiences. They take holiday. They shut down in the summer for holiday.
Like a couple months.
And people will say, man, they have such a great life over there. But what they're failing to understand is what happens when you're retirement age. Oh, well, the government cares for you. Okay, well, how good luck is that? Because we've seen what the government has done with our
that doesn't work
medical.
For us because we have a different family dynamic.
No, we don't take care of our elders. We all move out.
Like the young people don't want the old people living with them,
and
I feel like that's how it works in Europe.
The younger people are now staying with the old people.
That's true.
In their basements. So there's a lot. But look, the reason I'm pointing this out is we have a dynamic shift in generational, in the way finances are looked at, in the way that our economy is moving, in the way that our government is operating and moving. And so the point I'm trying to make is if you went to school, say in the late 90s or early 2000s, you were in college and you took a economics class, the things that they were teaching and the way the consumer behaved in that class is no longer relevant. We live in a different world. And then post-pandemic, things have changed, right?
Yeah.
So we're looking at just things are different now, right? And so we're saying things are different, but we're in an industry that is as old as the Bible, right? And this gnat is like literally in front of your face. It's hilarious.
It's okay. Okay. So the bottom line, though, is no one wants to be poor. No one wants to not make any money in business. And we have to just adapt to what's happening right now.
Correct.
Poor labor market.
Okay, so
high interest rates.
This is how I look at it. the middle class will shrink. It's an undeniable fact.
Yeah, the middle class is
shrinking, and so you're going to have the lower class is going to increase.
Working class.
Some people are going to move into the upper class. Now, I would like to move into that bracket, right? I don't want to go backwards. Mm-hmm. So when you're thinking, how do I move into that? Okay, here's how you do it. Here's honestly how you do it. 1, stop having credit card debt. Stop borrowing money at high interest rates. Start paying cash for the things that you want. Start saving your money, which is a very unique thing.
Stop wasting your money at Starbucks.
Stop wasting your money at Starbucks, right? Start prioritizing what you're spending your money on. If you can afford to buy rental property, buy rental property.
Buy it.
Because you're never going to say 20 years from now, I wish I didn't buy this house.
You're going to say, I wish I bought 10.
Yes, that's what everyone says. So buy rental property and let somebody live in your house and pay that house off for you on a fixed mortgage. So even with rates high, there's still opportunity for you to buy property. And you may have to go out of state. You may have to go to different areas. But bottom line is,
there's a small negative, it's still worth it.
Buy rental property. It gives you a great tax deduction, shelters your income. But buy rental property. Be smart with what you're saving your money. If you have rental property, I'd advise you to hold on to your rental property.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You know,
you should never really sell your real estate if you don't have to.
So we're selling real estate. Let's talk about that.
We are.
What are we selling?
So we bought a property in Lake Arrowhead during COVID, during 2020. It was kind of an impulse buy, honestly.
Everybody was buying up there to impulse buy.
So it was kind of impulse buy.
Who was the impulse purchaser?
Me.
Okay, just checking.
I think I literally watched like one episode of like some lake real estate show. And I was like, and then I started looking at Lake Arrowhead, and I was like, hey, why have I never been to Lake Arrowhead? And then I realized it was a private lake, and it was a really nice area. And I don't know, there were a bunch of cute A-frame cabins up there. So I had these like visions of like, having a lake house, having a cabin house, the snow, the lake in the summer, the canoes, the boats, all of that. So I bought it, $550.
Okay.
It was good. I think it was a good deal. Like 2,000-ish square feet, cute A-frame house, but total gutter.
Total gutter. Like
gut, it wasn't hideous. It wasn't like you could live in it. People were living there, but it was like 70s vibe, right?
It was.
For me, it was a total gutter. So we bought it, and then basically we just spent COVID like rehabbing it, which was a nightmare because
it's not like we weren't busy during COVID. So let's just put that out.
Yeah, we were doing a lot of things.
We were already slammed.
But what I realized is getting any work done on the mountain is a challenge. There's like nothing on the mountain, so everyone has to come up from San Bernardino or come up from lower levels to do whatever you got to do. I mean, we have a construction company, and it was still difficult.
Yeah.
To get it was difficult to get dirt, which is crazy because
you're on dirt.
You're on the mountain, which is made of dirt, but we had this big planter situation in front of the house, and I needed a lot of dirt, and literally
like 2 dump truck loads.
I could not get dirt on the mountain because the roads and this and that, there was all this drama. So there's a lot of things you don't realize. Just building the deck, the mountain's built of granite.
Our property, like all properties on the mountain, is basically built on the side of the mountain, and so the deck extends over. There's 2 decks, a lower and an upper deck. There's about 2,000 square feet of decking.
A lot of deck.
It's massive deck, and it obviously hangs over the side of the mountain, and so we had to put massive support structures in. The problem was directly down was massive boulders. So we spent, I say, 2 weeks utilizing. I mean, we damn near almost got dynamite. I mean, I'm not even joking. we literally we put in a cracking agent into the rocks. We drill the rocks. We put an agent in to break the rocks.
They spent like a week trying to jackhammer.
Just trying to jackhammer. We broke heavy equipment. We had one of our vendors said, no, we can get that. He brought a jackhammer out on some heavy equipment. He broke that. So it was a massive undertaking just building this deck.
A lot of drama.
We almost had a helicopter in the beams. I'm not even lying. We didn't think the boom on the crane couldn't lift over the top of the house. It was that big, and so it was a lot of logistics.
Up a small access road, so trucks can't get up that road. And
so it was a lot of logistics. So so we redid the house. If you want to see what our house looks like, you can actually see it online if you go to our website. I don't think it's on the Holt and Palm website, but you can see it at Modern Vacation.
It is on Holt and Palm, but it's
modernvacation.rentals. So it's really cool.
It was done. I think it was completed before, like last year around December.
Is anything that you own ever really completed?
No, probably not. So what are we in? We're in 2023. So
it was completed last year.
I'm gonna say it was completed like last year, 2022.
Yeah, because we had 4th of July there. Everything was done.
And then it took me like 9 months to get my permit to short term it.
Because the county was backlogged.
Yeah, the county was backlogged. So literally, I don't know when I applied for it, and it's expensive. It was like $1,000. So just comparatively, in Palm Desert, it's like $30 to get a short-term rental permit for the year. In Lake Arrowhead or in San Bernardino County, it was like $1,000. So that was kind of crazy. It took like months and months and months. So I didn't get the short-term permit for a while. I think I got it in December of 2022. And like in January of 2023, we had Snowmageddon, where we had this crazy storm. It was insane. People died. People were...
the grocery store ceilings collapsed.
Multiple grocery stores in Lake Arrowhead had their ceilings just like... Their whole roofs cave in. People didn't have their medication. People were stuck for like 3-4 weeks at a time. So from like January and February, it was like you couldn't even go up there. So that was that. And then so it wasn't really until March, April that you could go up there. And that's when we started renting. But then obviously it's, I haven't even been able to experience the seasons up there. But bottom line is
this therapy for you?
Bottom line is it is now...
what is the bottom line?
It is now October of 2023, and we're selling it because, we have another project that we need money for.
Correct.
And so it is...
Okay, so the point I was making 35 minutes ago when I said we're selling property was I didn't realize that there was going to open wounds of you not using the cabin.
Wasn't that the point is too, you have to prepare for these things.
Well, okay, so
financially,
the point I was making is I don't like to sell real estate, right? When my friends come to me and say, should I sell this house? We inherited it. And I'm saying, listen, why would you chop down a fruit tree when you could sell the fruit from it, right? Once you chop it down, that's it. It's one last goodbye. It's done. So I don't really typically like to sell real estate, and I very rarely will sell real estate. We've only sold a few houses over our lifetime. But we're selling this property, and it's a key property. It's actually a great property, and it would continue to go up in value. The reason we're selling it is because we're doing another construction project on our building. And so how I look at it is I can take my cash from that property. Right now, I can put it in the bank and earn interest, which we're getting high yield interest at our bank. If you're looking for a bank to make interest, PacWest, Pacific Western,
like 5%.
They're paying 5.5% on a savings account, and there's no minimum lockup period. Just put $1,500 in there or more. So here I take my money, I put it in there, and I'm automatically going to earn interest on it. I'm no longer making a mortgage payment, so that adds cash back to the till. But what's happening is now I'm going to take that cash and I'm going to reinvest it in additional real estate. So when I look at my real estate portfolio, the value of our portfolio is going up. A lot of times people will sell that, and I'll be really honest, I could go buy, and we're just having this conversation, I could go buy a Ferrari, and I could park that in front of my shop, and people are like, wow, you're doing really good. And I could have done those things, but I don't want to do those things because, one, it's a depreciating asset, and that's cool. I love cars. I'm a total car guy, but once it's dirty, it's dirty. It's just a car, right? But the thing is instead we're moving it on our balance sheet, right? So I'm taking the equity in the property, I'm converting it to cash. It's still on my balance sheet. I'm going from not making any money on it because I wasn't getting that much, the short-term market up there was a little bit slow to start, to I'm automatically earning interest on it. So I'm getting 5.5% interest annually on the money. Then I'm going to use that money in turn to put that into real estate, and we're going to build out the back end of our building. We're building a restaurant, a courtyard that we're getting ready to submit plans with the city. That's going to further increase my real estate portfolio. So what I'm doing is I'm not spending the money. I'm just moving it on my balance sheet. Yeah, I'm taking it from an asset. I'm converting it into cash. Then I'm taking that cash and I'm re-putting it back into a new asset.
Reinvesting.
And then I'm going to reinvest it into that asset. So then essentially what will happen is we'll have a restaurant on the back end of our building where I've used cash to buy it, so I don't have any additional debt on that, so I'm not encumbering.
And hopefully it'll generate revenue.
Well, it will generate revenue, and you're going to say, hey, wait a minute, you guys are talking about a bad economy. Why are you doing a restaurant? And that's a great question. We're doing a pizza restaurant, which will do well in a bad economy, right? So we're doing very inexpensive food. Pizza and beer will do well in a bad economy. It's priced well. It's a neighborhood hangout. It caters to all the city, police, fire, and the neighborhood. So it'll do well and it'll generate, and that will continue to generate us revenue, plus the value of the building will continue to go up. So we're just readjusting our portfolio, right? So there's a difference between cashing out and spending that money. So if you are one of the, so if you're a person who said, I'm going to do a refinance on my house to pay down my credit cards, let me slap you. Let me slap you right now. I'm gonna do a HELOC on my house so we can go on vacation. Let me slap you. These are all very stupid moves, and I don't mean to be harsh, but they are very stupid. And this is what gets us in debt and it gets us in problems.
Well, you never want to take money from an appreciating asset and put it into something that is non-appreciating.
Correct. And you never want to take money. You never want to take an unsecured debt like a credit card and secure it to your house. Yeah. Keep those two separate, because here's the thing: you could file bankruptcy, you could go broke, and your credit cards could basically be wiped out, and you can maintain your house. The second you move that unsecured asset into your secured asset, and you say, oh, I'm getting a better interest rate, that's why I did it, but you still secured it with your property. If you go into default on your property because your mortgage payment has now been escalated to a higher amount and you can't pay for that, what have you done? You essentially are losing your home because you decided to pay off your SUV and your 2 credit cards that you went to, Cancun with last year. It's not a good idea. So it's just how we're moving the money, right? And we're moving from one real estate deal to another. And the point I'm making in this was we're looking at the economy. We know the economy is not doing well. We're preparing for a really, really bad economy. We're preparing that people aren't going to have money to spend. And I'm moving that from one type of asset into another. And then I'm preparing to be in a position where I can satisfy the needs of people with a low price product, generate revenue while still maintaining the value of my building, right? And that's how we're kind of adjusting.
And it's a pivot, because initially we thought that, we had this Lake Arrowhead property. It could potentially be like a good revenue generator because the work from home situation is taking off. But, it really didn't take off like everyone thought it was going to. So sometimes you do things because you're following some kind of trend. But at the end of the day, you might end up having to pivot, but pivoting in the right direction is key.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think it depends on what you're looking to do, where you're currently at right now, and where do you need to be 5 years from now, right? And so it's looking in those directions and making the smart decisions, doing your homework, not believing everything you hear on the news, and definitely don't believe everything you hear on Instagram or Facebook, because most of it is by some kind of Russian bot. So, it just feeds you a bunch of headlines that don't actually add up to anything.
Yeah, you want to hope for the best, prepare for the worst.
Exactly. So we're doing that. And look, if you want to talk about you in a situation and you want to know, like, hey, what's some ideas to do, hit us up. We like to talk about that all the time. I like to talk about that. I've been helping some other businesses here locally that have been listening to our podcast and I know we got to have one of them on here. I want him to get a little further down the line. Eric, if you're listening, I'm talking about you. I want him to get a little further down the line so he has a little bit more of a story to tell. He's got a great story, because he's facing what many small businesses, many family-owned businesses go through. We went through it as a small family-owned business early on in our life, and how he's trying to transition that to a long-term growth, how he's trying to set himself up for success, his family up for success. And so, he has been coming with challenges, and we've been talking through and bringing him ideas of how to structure his company. And again, it doesn't have anything to do with me being a professional in that space that he's in, because he's the professional in that space. I'm simply just providing him context for what we've been through and what we know to work and not work in the area of business and structure and planning, and he's super excited about that. And so what I'd like to see him do is kind of get a little further down the line. I told him I would get with him and have a meeting with him and his wife and get them a little further down the line, so then they can come on the show and talk about what they've done. Here's where we've been, here's how we've restructured, and then here's kind of how it's working out for us. So I know other people like to hear about that.
A lot of businesses are going to go through that. And I mean, a lot of real estate agents are going to need to pivot next year.
Yeah.
When they, finally come to the conclusion that, maybe it's not all about listings, or it's not all about buying property, representing buyers. And we have to diversify what we do if we want to stay in business.
Yeah, you have to be creative. So, and I know like we have a company within our family of companies that provides accounting and like financial and management oversight to other entities, and that's kind of how we operate our business. But I know that team's excited because we're going to start offering that to other businesses as well, where we help them with their accounting, their bookkeeping. We're not their CPA, we're not their attorney. We basically we kind of make that trifecta, right? Your CPA gives you advice, but they don't quite tell you how to get there or what to do, and they just go, "Oh yeah, go do this, and you'll be fine." Or write this off to this degree, and your attorney tells you everything you can't do. And so what we do is we help with the bookkeeping, the structure, the day-to-day operations. How does that translate into your business?
Yeah, the operational organization.
Correct. And then how to move that business forward. And so that's one thing that our team's been happy about. We're talking about launching that probably early next year for businesses, because again, it's along the lines of what we do. We manage real estate, we manage our own entities, our other businesses, and now we're going to offer the ability to help manage other businesses in that space. And so I think it's much needed, because I think with this economy, people get stressed and they don't know they get paralyzed.
Well, we need to be flexible in this economy. We need to be willing to do whatever we need to do to stay afloat, and we need to be creative and innovative, and we can't be one-trick ponies, and we have to be willing to pivot when it's required. So
yeah, exactly.
I feel like that's the moral of the story.
So, all right, well, cool. Hopefully, the sale of the house will continue to chug along, and we'll have some good news on that.
We will keep you updated.
And awesome, and cool. Appreciate it. That's it. We're done for the day. I'm done. See you guys later. Bye.
Hey guys, this is Damien. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed listening to us ramble about real estate and property management. Don't forget to check out all our social media and visit our website for wholesale property management. You can find the link in the bio. If you have topics, questions, or crazy situations you want us to talk about, send us a message. See you on the next episode of ModTalk.